Hewitt.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sui.
Here.
Commissioner Watson.
Here.
Commissioner Ranello.
Present.
Please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by statute. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, just the addition of a presentation from Hardenberg Insurance, and that'll be given by Chris Henry.
Thank you. Public comment on agenda items. If you have any comments on the agenda, please come up to the podium. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Seeing nobody, I will close that. We will now have the presentation of Hardenberg Insurance by Chris Henry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm actually Joe Henry.
Okay.
Joe Henry,
I
sorry.
am with Hardenberg Insurance. Purpose of me being here as a member of the JIF, it's required to have safety on the agenda at least one council meeting in every town in the JIF, and we serve several of them, so this is my 37th one so far out of 3 JIFs, so I can do this real fast.
Can you go to the podium so we can
Yeah,
catch
can we go to a microphone, sir?
Yeah.
Just so we can.
We're going to make you famous.
That'd be the best place. Certainly.
Yeah, we're going to make you famous.
Yeah. So as a member of the JIF, it is a requirement to have safety on the agenda. A safety committee is required as a member of the JIF. The JIF finds it very important to have safety. Pam Shapiro does a great job here with the safety committee. Very active, very engaging. All of your departments are involved with it. They meet 4 times a year as required by the JIF. And one of the things that we do is accident investigation, which this is going to be about, which is really vital to any safety committee's success. So I will move on for you. Our objectives when doing a accident investigation is one, to conduct the accident investigation, understanding the steps involved, and determining the root cause and contributing factors, which essentially is the most important thing, because if we don't find out why it happened, it's bound to happen again. We want to complete our report quickly and make changes if needed. There will be an investigation. That's what to do with the safety committee. You want to document facts that are found at the accident and the scene, and as I mentioned previously, determine the cause. Put corrective action in place immediately to prevent any more accidents. When we do that, we're going to find one of 2 things caused it. There's going to be a lack of training caused it, meaning human error. If there is any lack of training, we'll find out what needed to be done. As far as the training goes, the JIF has absolutely anything available free of cost as a member of the JIF, training for all the tasks that your employees perform. Could also be a lack of engineering causing it. Prime example I'll give you is over the years we've seen lots of back injuries with lifting manhole covers in the JIF. Basically, it's a thing that should be a thing of the past. There are engineering devices, heavy-duty magnets with hoists that can take care of that job. Some important plan highlights: preservation of life is key. Call 911 immediately if you have somebody that is in need of their assistance. Preservation of evidence, possible subrogation, meaning you could possibly go to court. You want to keep anything that could be beneficial in court. Gather your information, identify those corrective measures. You want to determine who's going to conduct your accident investigation. You do want somebody in a supervisory position, because lots of times we see those forms are completed and they sit on a desk if they're not in the right person's hand. In reporting your accident, you want to follow the procedures in the plan. You want to report it immediately or as soon as possible. The magic window in the insurance world is 3 days. If you can get it, report it within 3 days. Statistics prove that the person returns to work sooner and the cost of the accident is far less. And as I mentioned previously, who's going to conduct your accident investigation? Securing your scene, control access to the scene. You don't want anybody in to disrupt it, so you can do your investigation properly. Use some sort of barriers to keep people out and in, or keep people out. Do not adjust or change the accident scene unless it's required to help the injured employee. If you do have a serious injury, by all means, we want to do anything we can to get that person to safety. When gathering information, questions will be plentiful. These are the things we're going to determine: who was injured, what caused the accident, where it occurred, when it occurred, how it occurred. Don't forget to ask witness questions if you have them, and why, which I mentioned previously is the biggest question of all, because we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. View your accident scene immediately, get a clear description of the accident, provide a clear description of the location as well, and take photographs or a video. Can simply be done these days. Everybody has a phone, so you can get data available to help you later in your accident investigation. Label and secure the items that you may have physically for the insurance adjuster. Once again, that might be needed in litigation. Get those witnesses and get those witness statements the same day, if at all possible, while the information is fresh in their mind. If you don't document that, it didn't happen. So we say in the court of law, documentation is your salvation, and we want to make sure we have it documented to be helpful. So what can we do to help? Here are some corrective measures and tools to help out in the accident investigation. Purchase new tools and equipment if we determine an engineering device would be helpful. Redesign your work area. Improve housekeeping. Pretty much every month, the PIOSH Top 10, poor housekeeping is one of the citations. Those poor housekeeping habits lead to slips, trips, and falls in the workplace, so that can be helpful. Add to existing signage. Once again, that can be helpful in litigation. Remove broken equipment and tools, and improve lighting because that will help also to eliminate slips, trips, and falls, not only in the workplace, but all the public places where your residents travel. So that concludes accident investigation. If anything related to this or your safety committee, please feel free to ask away. If not, I will move out of your way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Take care.
On to discussion of City of Millville hotel tax collection, please.
I just wanted to bring this up in discussion. Kirk and I attended a meeting a little while back. I just had it in my notes that was highlighted for hotel tax collection. I didn't get too much information on it. I understand, I think we get 3%. The way it's collected, I guess, could be different. From what I understand, we receive our ratables through the state. I guess the state collects it. We receive our ratables from the state. The only thing that was kind of like brought up was, is there other means of collecting it, or like, would it be beneficial for us to collect this in-house, just like to increase the ratables that are coming in? I know it's in city ordinance. That was presented to me, so just bringing it up for a topic of discussion, see if anybody had thoughts on it.
Check with the CFO and see what she says.
Yeah, that's what my recommendation would be. If it can be, I think it should be.
Well, it all depends. It may have to go through the state. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know do you know what the underlying statute is?
The ordinance, the statute cited in our ordinance, and I looked at the Vineland ordinance today, it's cited in that as well. And I don't know if it goes to the state, or it goes directly to us. The ordinance doesn't say one way or another. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to the state and back to us. There may not be an option to collect it directly.
All right, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is
I know
good to
what
be
the
looking
CFO.
into to make sure we're getting it.
Perfect. That's kind of all I had for that.
Thank you. Further discussion of the 15th Street warehouse relocation.
I asked engineering to prepare a presentation on some of the options.
Thank you.
So,
Our way.
Thank you, Commissioner Sui, Mayor, Commission member, Jeannie and Brock, and the public. Thank you for letting us come before you. The commission has a significant decision to make, and it seems like time is your greatest enemy right now with the pending sale of the 15th Street warehouse. Engineering has recently been charged with assembling available building condition and assessment information to present to the commission to assist them in making this decision. The warehouse is 400 feet by 130 feet, 57,000 square feet. Streets and Roads has moved their materials and equipment out of the warehouse. The remaining is parks and public properties, police department archives, and materials. Let's get right into the PowerPoint presentation. It'll help show you the available information we have. We also have detailed information on 3 available options from, previous building inspections, 25 Airworks Street, the hangars at the airport, and 826 Columbia Avenue. So go ahead, Michelle, if you could take us through the PowerPoint. And if you have any questions during the PowerPoint, please, feel free to ask.
Okay, so just to start off, some of the specifications of the 15th Street warehouse. We have 400 by 130, approximately 52,000 square feet. I think we mentioned 57, but just from aerial maps, roughly over 50,000 square feet. As it pertains to the utilities, water, sewer, and gas are separate lines and accounts from the front office building. So just to clarify if there is any confusion, it's not the main building when you walk up, the office building, conference rooms, in that front where the fleet is, front building. The warehouse is the only thing that's getting subdivided off. Majority of the yard also is staying with the city. Anyways, the water meter that exists currently can remain unless proposed use requires more demand. We'd have to hook up a commercial meter for the water line, as well as the commercial sewer meter needs to be installed, and that size will also be based off of the proposed use and demand. There's also a separate gas account, so you just need to make sure they're separated with the new owner with South Jersey Gas. Electric is also separate from the front office building. However, it does run, the warehouse power runs the salt building electric and the light poles in the rear yard. So those items are going to have to be separated out, repowered to connect, so the city account stays with the city property. That'll have to get reconfigured, so they're separate accounts. And again, they'd have to be separated out with Atlantic City Electric.
So, one thing real quick, at the commission's direction, we could engage our industrial electrical contractor and, schedule him to go out there and do that work as soon as it's deemed necessary by the commission. So there's nothing holding that work up.
Some of the warehouse items that are remain in the warehouse to be relocated. We have a lot of archive files. That's probably the most sensitive, other than the historical artifacts that remain out there, and the police archives. We have, by state statute, I'm sure Jeannie would be willing to share the timeline and the duration of what documents need to stay where. I know she has that locked down. But we do have certain amount of years, depending on the document, that need to be retained with the city. And they need to be protected from any elements. Climate control would be preferred. Additionally, there's lawn equipment, both retired and active, out there. Like I said, historical artifacts. What is it, Whitaker Ice?
The Whitaker Ice horse-drawn wagon is out there. It's a marvelous historic item for the city, and it needs to go somewhere where it's going to be preserved. Yes, sir.
We discussed this today, and that's in the OEMP company. I think the solicitor and Paul were working on that.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful historic item. It's very fragile. It's, old, very tender, so it has to be, moved gently.
The current warehouse is not climate controlled, correct?
No,
No.
there's heat and ventilation, but no conditioning of the air.
Some outdoor holiday decorations. I know the Parks Department holds a lot of that. And there's also police archives there. There's approximately 4,300 square feet of assets, about 50,000 cubic feet of assets to be stored if you were to stack everything on top of each other. So the move-out date that we were made aware of, our department, was sometime in September. Part of negotiations, it was made aware to us that in order for the city to move their stuff out before or shortly after that September 24 date, if we cannot do that, the purchaser would be willing to allow the city to pay rent to give more time to allow for relocation. That rate that was presented to us was $68,000. Don't know if that's a hard and fast number. I know negotiations are still happening. I don't think the ink dried yet. But that number is just to keep in mind. Anything that you do any time after that September date, you're adding on that price tag onto any decision you guys make.
As you see further along in the presentation, you'll see other rental numbers seem to be less than that amount, and that I don't think this takes into account the value of the rental space plus debt service on any loan for purchasing the property, which is probably pretty substantial, for the sale amount. So that's why it's higher.
Here's just a quick little overview of some of the assets, some of the things that we really need to retain and make sure they're protected from the elements. A lot of banker boxes, a lot of documents. I know our department has a lot out there. I'm sure clerk's office has a lot too. Like I said, police has assets and other departments that have files depending on what they are, whether it's construction department, et cetera, permits. I don't even know half the stuff out there. I think there's a trophy in that front corner picture. Somebody want a trophy, it's out there. So there's a bunch of stuff miscellaneous. I do think it would be safe to say it could get gone through, but I think time permitting might not be the appropriate point to do that before we move everything. So a couple short-term temporary solutions. We can look into and explore temporary structures to be housed on city property. Fabric buildings and shipping containers, I know were both mentioned to our department to explore. We also could utilize other government buildings, such as the Board of Education. I know Wood School was briefly explored when looking to relocate the police department. I don't know if that was more of just a hypothetical, but we can throw it out there as a possibility for relocation of these 15th Street assets. And then we could also lease space within the city or local. Nearby warehouses are up for rent, and there's also small commercial buildings in climate-controlled storage items. Not necessarily lawn equipment and the outdoor decor that can hang out outdoors, but the stuff that needs to be protected from rain, weather, that kind of stuff. There's a couple options that we're going to explore in this presentation. So first up, temporary structures for fabric buildings. Just ballpark sizing to accommodate the square footage of assets that we have out on 15th Street. 80 by 120, about 9,600 square feet. Ballparking with pricing, building and install costs about $120. That's kind of the most recent rate. We called around, got a couple quotes, real price tags around different townships. Price of concrete, slab on grade floor to keep these assets up off of the dirt and gravel. About $40,000. Total cost minimum $160,000, and that's not including delivery. And actual install and how the time goes and delivery and lead time, 6+ months. That's, again, ballpark. These aren't hard, fast numbers. These aren't quotes from companies. This is just stuff that we've gotten from nearby townships that have experienced purchasing these buildings or similar.
We put one up last year, 40 by 60, just to buy the fabric building was like 24 grand. Then we had to, prepare a sub base with, dense graded aggregate. We had to purchase bin block to build the wall. It was put up with municipal, crews, so there was no labor cost. That was $60,000 without labor, for 40 by 60. So these numbers probably aren't, too far off from what it would be.
Right, half the size, what you've gotten a quote for, yeah. The next temporary option are shipping containers. If you're going off of a 40-foot container, they're about 2,300 cubic feet of storage interior. To cover the amount of assets that we have, maybe 22 are needed. That's allows some wiggle room. You're not going to stack everything up to the ceiling. You're not going to stack lawn equipment on top of lawn equipment. So 22, I think, gives a decent lean margin for wiggle room. Cost for them new around $4,500. That's just a quick Google search on average. Total cost for 22 containers at that price, $99,000. Don't know about delivery, and that estimated delivery time of 1 month is a ballpark. We're just guessing. We haven't gotten hard quotes. We're exploring options at this point. So until we're instructed to do so, we will go out and get formal quotes and proper quotes.
So on the Connex boxes, we use them all the time on heavy construction jobs. Now we're looking at this like just stacking everything in there. On a construction job, you have to leave an aisle, a way for people to walk in and out to get material from the back or the front. We didn't account for that. If we accounted for that, that might go up another third or more. So, access has to be considered.
Yeah, these are very rough and dirty numbers just to get some kind of a price tag in front of you all. So exploring other options, utilize other government buildings. Like I said at the beginning, I know Wood School was briefly entertained for possibly relocating police department. I don't know if that's still on the table. Our department just wanted to include that because we had some hand in that when that was being explored way back when. It's a possibility to utilize the existing classrooms and indoor storage areas for the weather-sensitive assets. There's also a fenced-in outdoor area that lawn equipment and outdoor decor could go in that could be locked safely. Additionally, there's a vast parking lot that other equipment can be stored. This would, I would assume, we would assume that this would require a conversation with the Board of Ed. There might be possible rent or some kind of a lease agreement. That I don't know, that's out of our wheelhouse. But as for a timeline, as soon as approval or agreement from Board of Ed is granted, I know that is their property and that's their domain. And let at the PowerPoint say that it's no communication with the Board of Ed has been had with our department. We haven't been given a green light to entertain that or formally request, but we're willing to do so if that's something you guys are willing to explore. Moving on, lease space in Millville. So this is leasing from privately owned warehouses. There's a couple locations in Millville, just a quick search. Our source was showcase.com, but if you do any industrial commercial leasing, quick Google search gets you these numbers. So at 1700 Eden Road, there's about 126,000 square feet available. Your monthly rate, 63 cents a square foot. Yearly rate, $7.50 a year, square foot a year. So you're looking at monthly rent. I would assume this is a short-term option. I don't think the city wants to pay almost $80,000 a month. This is on the high end. So taking it back to the negotiated option of the city renting the warehouse from the purchaser, that's a steep price. So maybe not this particular location in terms of cost, but it gives you an idea of what's out there and some of the pricing. The lease length is negotiable as it states online, and it's currently listed. Again, our department did not reach out to this privately owned commercial business and request any kind of quote or negotiate. We can do so if that's what is required. Next option, 328 South 2nd Street, also in Millville. This is a over 20,000 square foot building. Monthly rate and yearly rates are here by square foot. Overall, monthly rent $11,797 a month, significantly less than the last one and what was negotiated. Again, lease length is negotiable as it states online at showcase.com, and it's currently listed. So again, immediately available, I'm assuming upon negotiation and contract signing. Moving outside of Millville but nearby locally, 217 Peachtree, again, listed online, quick Google search, 41,000 square feet. Monthly rent, $20,500 a month. Same thing, lease length is negotiable and it's currently listed, so I'm assuming availability would be pretty soon. Again, just giving you an idea of different price ranges per month, per square foot. This is just a summary for you guys to compare notes and see what you guys were offered and what exists out there for short term. Lastly, Salem, 45 Griffin Street, same thing, 92,000 square feet. Your monthly rent, $38,333 a month. Same thing, lease is negotiable and it's currently listed. If we would like our department to explore that, we can. We'd be happy to do so. This is just a quick search. It's out there on sale, like Zillow, and obviously cityfeet.com is an option here. All this information is available online, just comparing prices. So for long-term solutions, this is where the meat and potatoes of our report gets into. We have a couple options. We can have new permanent structures being constructed on city property, such as a pole building. We'll get into some pricing and options on that. We could also utilize city-owned buildings. There's an airport hangar that our department briefly did inspections on. 25 Airworks Street has been a long-standing building for sale. I know some investigation got done for a different use. Again, we'll go through that. And there's also the option to purchase commercial buildings. One in particular, our department was tasked with inspecting and investigating 826 Columbia Avenue. At this time, no other properties have been explored thoroughly, or our department has been tasked to do, but we can go through these options and it'll give you some idea of some of the work and some of the upgrades and things you're looking for to buy or not to buy or to utilize these options.
Of those three properties that Michelle mentioned, only one of them is currently occupied. That's the Columbia Avenue property. So that's almost like a turnkey. You purchase it, you could walk in and start utilizing it. There's some upgrades to be done on the fire system. But other than that, there's lights on in the building right now, and there's a tenant, or the owner's in there using it for his business. The other properties, they need some pretty significant work, as we'll get into, and you're looking probably a year or 16 months down the road before you can even get in there and flip the light switch on.
Okay, so for new permanent structures such as a pole building, I believe a couple quotes were gotten by our Streets and Roads Department, if I'm not mistaken. We also reached out today to a company who's renowned. Just do a quick search of pole buildings and companies pop up. First one on our list. So for about 120 by 50 foot building, 6,000 square feet, similar, comparable to our 15th Street warehouse that we have. We are looking about.
A lot smaller.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Smaller,
Last
yeah.
one. Sorry, sorry. My my apologies.
We're all
Yeah.
been
We're
working
tapped out,
hard
yeah.
on this, trying to pull
No,
it
the
all
exact
together. so-
opposite of what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Not similar to what we have.
Right.
Similar to the square footage of assets that we need to cover. That
Right.
is what was meant to be said. The quote that we got given today, actually this afternoon, again, rough and dirty numbered, nothing proper, nothing formal. There is no documented quote that we got given. This includes HVAC, plumbing, electric, lights, a possible restroom. It is a city building, government building, small office area, possibly a kitchenette. Again, these things are discussed, and it's at prevailing weight because it is a government purchase. Building, delivery, and install, we could have this building for significantly smaller than our current 15th Street warehouse for $800,000. And that was a nice round number up. It was high 700, like 780 something, but the salesman said about $800,000 would get us what we want covered with ventilation and whatnot. Lead time would be about 16 weeks for delivery and approximately 2+ months for construction, but I just wanted to be noted that this doesn't include any planning, zoning board,
Right.
or construction permit timelines. This doesn't include the planning board process, site plan, stormwater, any kind of sidewalk, any kind of driveway, grading, gravel, curb cuts, anything you can imagine, running new water, sewer utilities to wherever that is. Thinking hypothetically, if it was at the airport industrial park, yes, there's water and sewer, but you got to get water and sewer from the main to the building. So there's a lot more timeline than what's on here. This is just to get the pole building up and on.
Now, one more thing, we can't just go out and buy this. We have to abide by, municipal public contract law. So we'd have to probably put this out to bid. So we've got to put a bid package together, reach out, to potential builders, design, bid, build, or go to a co-op like Sourcewell, and entertain going that method. So it's not going to be 16 weeks, out. It's
Yeah,
a long lead item, even though it sounds short.
yeah. The guy was like, you can have it in your backyard if we
Right.
buy it today, if we all pull our money together. We could have it, here today.
So unless we declared an emergency, we can't,
Right.
go ahead and purchase this.
Moving onward, city-owned buildings. So one of the buildings that I mentioned, our department was tasked with investigating. There's an airport hangar out at the airport, 22,500 square feet approximately. That building is in dire need of immediate full roof replacement. With that replacement, about a 30-year warranty would come with that. It would cost about $1.1 million just for the roof only. And I believe Garland gave us,
Right, when we did our initial inspection out there, we went in the building, the lighting is very poor and limited. We were unable to see structural issues in the building. When I went up on the roof to do an inspection with Garland, it was immediately observed, giant gaping holes in the roof. It's in a state of collapse right now, needs emergency stability bracing. If not, it's gonna, the building's gonna go down. So it needs structural work, structural inspection, it needs bracing. And then when all that's done, a new roof is over $1 million for that building. So that's, something the commission has to weigh out and how you want to move forward with that. But I think we need to have the bracing done to protect what's there, because it's only going to get worse.
and so we don't have a quote on any of that. That wasn't something that our department had time to explore in depth and give you a hard number on. We can if that's the avenue we decide to go. Moving onward, 25 Airwork Street. Again, this building's been up for sale, I believe, for quite some time, and looked at and entertained. This is a 27,000 square foot building. A complete roof overlay with new panel system would be needed immediately to get in and secure the building and deem it safe. Approximately 1.4 million for just the roof only. That would come with 30-year life expectancy. Did Garland do that one as well?
Yeah, Garland did
Yeah.
the estimate. That would be, new purlins laid down, connected mechanically to the existing roof structure, and new panels put on. That doesn't account for HVAC upgrades. The fire system, I think there was a leak years and years ago, and there was mold in the building. There's all kinds of issues in the building. It needs a lot of internal work. That's just on the HVAC, the 1.8 million, and that was on an institutional, square foot metrics number from Alaska. That number would probably come down if it's warehouse and some office area, but with the cost of materials, the way it escalates, it may jump right back up with the supply chain issues and material costs. So we haven't done any other work on that.
Yeah, we don't have an overall cost, what that would look like, but there's just some numbers we're kind of ballparking at where you're going to start at with this building. Lastly, this is a privately owned commercial building. Like Wayne mentioned, a tenant is in there occupying.
Or the owner.
Or the owner, yeah, thank you. The owner's in there, 18,000 square feet, a little over. Immediate repairs for this building would include about $80,000 for roof repair and coating, not the whole roof, just portions of it. A new sprinkler system, fire sprinkler system inspection, and that needs to be updated. And the owner has agreed, as some negotiations as mentioned to our department, the owner has agreed to perform some portion of the immediate repairs. I don't know if we have a dollar amount or exact square footage or amount that's been offered, but there has been some discussion that's been relayed to our department. And a life expectancy of about 10 to 15 years. With that $80,000 roof repair, you could get out of it with yearly maintenance of
Could be extended.
it could be extended. You could get 10 to 15 years out of that price.
That building is on the Sanborn fire map from 1880 in the city of Millville, so it predates 1880. We don't know the exact age of the building. We're thinking 1860 in that time frame somewhere. It's a very solid building. It's got mortared sandstone walls that are battered. Some of them are 3 feet thick at the floor line. It's structurally sound. There's heavy timber construction with 2x8, 2x6 tongue and groove roofers. The roof is sound. There's some need of repairs in areas where there's delamination or wrinkles in the material. With new coating that will protect it, and if you took the coating and kept redoing it, every 5 years, you could extend that life out. The problem is if you don't do that and the roof decays or gets worse, then you got to put a new roof on. And when you have to put a new roof on, we're a city, we're not a farmer. Any farmer would just keep patching it up. I'd love to have that building on my farm, but there's no way to move it there. But to get back on track, if we do that building, we have to do the code upgrades for the energy code. So we're going to end up putting a 6-inch thick layer, of ISO insulation on there to get the correct R value, and 2 membranes on there and a cap sheet. So that's why the cost goes up. We're paying prevailing wage rates. You're paying for the warranty. To do all that work, it's $1 million. They said the budget. That's down the road.
That's long term.
10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so as it said in the prior slide, immediate repairs, 80,000, get 10 to 15 years out of it, start entertaining it, year 10, start budgeting, and then move forward with a full replacement. Eventually, it's probably gonna come. I don't know how much maintenance will hold on, but again, if you do a whole new roof, you get 30 years out of it, and you can kind of move on with your life with yearly inspection and maintenance, not just forget about it and just let it sit. But yeah, I think a lot of this is maintenance involved. That's all that we have. It's just a picture of our warehouse that's being sold. Any questions you have for us? I'm sure Wayne's willing to answer. I am
And
too.
we have the detailed assessments on each of the
Yes.
buildings. There was short notice, for the Columbia Avenue building, so I had to, do that inspection myself. And I, coordinated with Garland on the material in the report. They'd be happy to come out and look at the building, but they haven't done so yet. They've worked off our communication and photos we sent them. So right now, that we're kind of steered to that as like the only building that's available at this time, from what we see.
Thank you, Wayne and Michelle.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
I do have a couple questions, if that's all right.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
I would like to try to do a follow-up for the Pioneer Pool buildings, just ask my own questions. If you guys can just send over their representatives' contact information you talked to, I would like to reach out to them.
Sure.
Also, I guess I'm not like a builder or an engineer, but in the roof repair that you had listed, what would be the difference in the roof repair if the size of the Columbia Avenue building was 18,000 square foot and there's a budget of $80,000 for the roof repair coating and $1.1 million for the roof only? I guess that's a full replacement for the $1.1 million, then $80,000 for just a roof repair. And then, as you said, that's just to get us through, then it's gonna be an additional $1 million down the road to fully replace that, is that right? Okay.
The immediate money, the 80,000, is the budget for, an aluminum asphalt-based coating system to protect the membrane. Right now, it has an APP, modified bituminous membrane. It's torched down, applied, and some of the layers are over top of older roofing systems that are called a burr, a build-up roofing system. And they were put down with hot pitch that was, put in a kettle, let off chlorine gas. Some of that you can see leaching through the roof deck. Those were good old roofs, but the modified is the way to go today. That's on top. So in order to protect that, you have to coat it, or else it gets cracks. It starts to, pull away and delaminate from the deck. It's connected to the deck by hot asphalt. Once that happens, it starts moving and cracking. So that the coating protects the roof system, from delaminating, and also it's for reflectivity of the heat buildup. The black obviously sucks up all the heat, expansion and contraction. Around the parapet wall of that building, there's a small corner area where the aluminum coat had kind of broken down a little bit. You get expansion, contraction, you get wrinkles, dimples in the roof, and the owners agreed to fix that. As well as there's a section of the roof where someone had done a repair, we don't know how long ago, but they put the roll roofing down, it didn't adhere properly. So we went on the roof, you can see in one of the photos, you can peel it up. So that needs to be repaired. So that's all part of that $80,000, to do repairs right now. The $1 million is a budget number. We're not sure which way the commission or the city will want to go. Like at the fire department, they constructed a lightweight structural A-frame or hip roof on that building, and then they put metal panels on it. That might be the right way to go for Columbia Avenue in the future, or to do another, building system, a roof system with the insulation of double layers and a cap sheet. So that's all part of roofing design. That's down the road. We don't have that information yet, but Garland would be happy to work with us and come up with numbers for that if the commission desired that information.
I had one more. So the 6,000 square feet includes HVAC, plumbing, electric, restroom, small office area, and kitchen. Now, like for 120 by 50 feet structure, 6,000 square feet may be just open area that doesn't need to be cooled or heated necessarily. So,
Right.
like say if we had just needed just to air condition a small office for Parks Department, it would be substantially lower in cost.
I think we have some numbers. Streets and Roads has numbers on a pole barn without heating and things like that. We don't have that with us right now, but we can get that.
If Streets and Roads had it, I definitely would have it with
Yeah,
me.
Wayne Gressman has numbers, and it's the same sales rep from Pioneer. What's his name? Roland? Roland, the same guy that Wayne talked to. And Michelle just called him real quick today to get some numbers together.
Yeah, this is what he spitballed. He said if you needed office area, if you're gonna have any kind of like office, for instance, if you have like your parks out there, if they have an office or two
Right.
that they need to dispatch out or a break room, he's like a kitchenette could be thrown in. I'll just throw a little bit of everything because I didn't know what we were really looking at as this option. Obviously, if we explore it as something that we want to do, we can put it in the dream sheet, ask them for pricing, and then pick and choose what we want. So this was just kind of a little bit of everything, a garage bay door. This picture, both of these pictures are just examples of what we could have. You know, for any heavy equipment coming through the garage bay door, we don't have to have an office in there if we don't want. It's strictly storage at only 6,000 square feet. That's our choice. He was just kind of giving us the top end of a little bit of everything, just a sampling of what a price would be. So I think he said $110 a square foot, so approximately $8,000.
So
Nice
that-
round number.
For buildings the same size as Columbia Avenue, you multiply that by 3, basically.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Would it not be to our favor and advantageous to, how long would it take for us to put together RFPs to get out? Because you got Pioneer pole buildings, you got
It's gonna take you at least
pole
2
building
months to get
systems.
bidded out.
I'm just looking at the fact of the size of Columbia Avenue now, we've all been out there. Then we're gonna have to have, I know we got ground out on 15th Street. We're gonna have to have some C cartons. That's a fact. I've heard no mention of our command unit, mobile command unit. It's gotta be housed. Right now, it's housed at 15th Street, but there's gonna be a lift going in that bay. That puts that out in the weather. That can't be. It's gotta be a secure piece of equipment. We have to take that into consideration also. And I realize, all of us here realize, we are under a time frame, short time frame, but that time frame is dictated by signature going on the paper and money in hand. We could have even pulled the trigger on this 4 months ago, and we didn't know the building was gonna close. So yes, we're under a tight time frame. We all realize that. As far as kitchenette and dinette and stuff like that, why? When I spent my month out at Parks and Public Property, they're happy where they're at as far as an office goes.
Sure.
It was presented to me that way. I know Commissioner Ranello is now out there.
Yeah.
So those little tchotchke things can go. We need
Right.
storage and we need it fast.
Yeah, no doubt. That package was just given a top number
That's,
for that.
yeah, I realize that. That's
We
why
weren't asking for that, yeah.
No, no.
There
It
you
was
go.
just to give an example, as a city building, if you have to have restroom, if you have to have an office, you would probably want an area, even if it's this big, to, have a hot pot on. Just, the guy was just throwing out, I mean, he's a sales
Yeah.
guy, but, he was throwing out possibilities of what you could replace,
Yeah.
and kind of house office space in with it. This is kind of like the top tier, like the Cadillac, if you would, of what you can, then you pull out, so. He was just throwing options. Again, this is a quick number. I was on the phone with him maybe 15 minutes this afternoon as I was putting this together. So give me a number, throw what's in there, what you think standard. He was like, other municipalities have thrown in this kind of stuff in these buildings, and they've relocated office space into it and storage. So just thinking, if like streets and roads were to relocate or parks, I was just thinking of anybody out at that 15th Street
Yeah.
facility. If they needed office space, you could. Didn't even think about your mobile unit dispatch, but that's something that could be housed there too, and maybe they want to get you that, I don't know.
Well, we're gonna have to get to that.
Right. Yeah, there's just throwing out options that you can customize these things. I mean, people build whole houses from these things, so the sky's the limit with this. It's just what you're willing to pay. And where are you gonna put it too? You have to hook it up to the utility too.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're hopeful that, the information we presented will help you with your decision. I know you have a difficult decision to make. And, we'd be glad to, continue down this path, retasking our efforts to help with any other information you need. Just let us know.
Appreciate it.
If you want us to move forward on anything else, a bid package, we could talk to Miguel to see how long it would take to put a bid package together. But then you have engineering design, you have site civil engineering, stormwater design needs to be done. So those things, add to the timeline. You
realize
could go
that.
through Sourcewell and do
I
design.
just wanna make it
bid.
clear, we couldn't really make any kind of moves until
Right,
this building gets sold. That's the rough part for every one of us sitting up here and everyone
Right.
involved in it. Hopefully that happens soon.
You guys just got done with all this today, correct?
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's still
We've
fresh.
we've been working on this the past few
Yeah.
days, so,
Yeah, those prints you have are probably still warm
right.
this afternoon.
We
Yeah,
haven't,
we
we haven't
can-
spent months on this, we spent days
Yeah,
this week, so.
yeah. So it seems to be slightly question marks on a lot of the
Right.
numbers, but it's the best we can do for what we were given, and we can explore any option more in depth and
Correct.
a proper investigation and kitchenette or no kitchenette, you know, like, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, 2 bathrooms or 5 bathrooms, whatever you want. Yeah, we're open to it.
You have any other questions for us, or,
Guess
I
not.
don't,
all right,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
You take our,
Yes.
I think Commissioner Watson's gotta get on
Commissioner Hewitt, you have anything to discuss further?
No, I've got nothing for the work session.
Steve's got a presentation on 15th Street.
He's giving
You have
error
his own
messages,
presentation.
I'm
Yeah.
just ignoring it. Hopefully it'll go away.
Hopefully Joanna's on standby.
We get,
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's yelling at you, so,
get two.
yeah, it's chiming. Don't make eye contact.
Where are we at here? Slideshow, here it is. From beginning. Okay, as I've been involved in this, I just had a suggestion that I would like to make to the mayor, vice mayor, and fellow commissioners. You know, obviously, time is very stressed. So that's why we have to kind of get creative with temporary storage. That should be the main focus right now, in my opinion, is finding temporary storage. I know that the engineering department presented us with some options. Obviously, they're a little like high in pricing. I wouldn't consider doing that. But I will touch base on some of the creativity that, you know, we would have for options if we all came together and got on the same page moving forward. So 15th Street relocation. In the slideshow, we're going to highlight square footage to replace, options presented to us, quick perspective, temporary to permanent solution, imagine this segment, and going to go over closing. Square footage to replace. I got in touch with all of our departments that use the 15th Street warehouse. They got back to me, and this is the area that they need. Parks Department, 16,250 square feet. We have to consider personnel lockers, break room, outdoor storage area, and employee parking. For the fire department, 4,000 square feet. This would include a training area. Police department at 2,000 square feet. Also, police department with 2,000 square feet, but we need to consider placement for the IM9 placement at the command center. And then constructions, city records, and OEM, they all have their separate square footage as well. Combined total is a little under 30,000. And this is talking about not replacing anything for storage for streets and roads. This is just focusing on these departments. The three options considered, which I believe we only have one option. There was a building on South 8th Street that was a little over 10,000 square feet, had 2 garage doors, a loading dock. The asking price was $1.6 million. Something that I have been looking at and considered moving, you know, as we progress here. Lost ratables would be over $10,800 a year if we were to purchase that building. Columbia Avenue, which was discussed in the engineering department's presentation, the square footage that I have from our tax assessor was 16,600 square feet. Has 1 garage door with limited access. Asking price is 1.5 because we met with the owner. And the lost ratables, if we were to purchase that building, would be over $9,500 a year. Keep in mind that the square footage to replace all the departments is over 29,000 square feet. Just for Parks Department was 16,250 square feet. So none of the buildings would be capable of handling anything else except for Parks Department moving forward. The current building, 15th Street warehouse that we have, I wheeled it out, or I'm sorry, our department wheeled it out on the inside, and we came up with a little over 43,000 square feet. Just to put it in quick perspective, and this is the perspective that I'm looking at it, you know, it's not like we're getting $6.5 million and only spending $2 million to pocket the 4.5. And this is something that we recently purchased. You know, and to put it in perspective, we wouldn't sell this fire truck for $1.5 million to turn around and buy this fire truck for $10,000. You know, it's not money in the bank for us. You know, we're talking about a direct replacement for something that we already have. Temporary solution. Again, we kind of got to get creative. We need to find a cost-efficient way to store material and equipment temporarily. This gets us more time to find or build a real, usable, permanent solution. Temporary solution is using space from other departments, the purchasing of shipping containers, possibility of low-cost storage space leasing, utilizing areas already owned by the city, and or requesting help from the county. The Water and Sewer Department has already agreed to open up some space for storage. Shipping containers cost, the real quotes that we received, 40 by 8 containers, roughly around 320 square foot. Obviously, we need access to them in and out, as our engineer stated. But they range from $2,600 to $5,200, and that's comparable to either used or new. I do have a contact, and I'm working with somebody that may provide space to us if this is the route we want to take. It's a lease option for a climate-controlled area. It's a 1-year lease for $8,000. It might need some work, small investment maybe needed to add in with that cost, but it's roughly about 2,000 square feet. We would have to go check it out. I wasn't able to meet with them the day we went out. Commissioner Ranello and Commissioner Hewitt did get the opportunity to see that building. I did not. And obviously, Streets and Roads is working with all departments for storage space. Permanent solution. The permanent solution is not purchasing a building that was built in the 1850s. We don't need to take on another old building that requires endless maintenance. We already have old buildings we can't afford to take care of. The decision to relocate the 15th Street warehouse material needs to be well thought out. We need a permanent home that will last for all of our departments. Building new pole buildings on city-owned property is the solution, as each building would be designated and customized to the needs of each department. Just have a couple of segments here for each department that's viewing. Currently, the warehouse space used is shared with, of course, other departments. At the beginning and end of each day, our Parks Department's trailers are disconnected, equipment are removed from the vehicles, equipment such as mowers, weed whackers, blowers, trimmers, etc. Personnel and supervision are separated. Locker room or break areas are shared with different departments. You know, to pitch this to another department saying, hey, we could give you a new building option that gives the park 16,250 square feet, what you need, with the design of the building that has garage doors on both sides so you guys can pull through and leave your equipment attached. The equipment storage area doesn't need heat, so HVAC, you know, anything like that, we don't have to consider. The small office can be added to the building, and maybe we can include a break room and locker for the personnel. Imagine this one, police department. Currently, the police department has storage area at the 15th Street warehouse and is shared with other departments. The area for storage is caged off. Trucks, tractors, mowers, and other equipment are in and out of the building. Garage doors are left open for in and out access. Police records and material are exposed to dusty and dirty environment. IM9 is currently stored at Fleet. OEM has multiple pieces of equipment ranging in different sizes. Some OEM material is stored randomly in the middle of the aisles of the warehouse as space is limited. Going with the new building option, one single large garage door can be added for the police IM9. The area where it's currently parked, Fleet, that's where our new lift's going to go, hopefully this year. So that would remove that space from Fleet. The storage area for IM9 doesn't need heat, but does need electric. The area for records could have low ceilings for efficiency. This area could also have shelving for organization and easy access to records. This will be a dry, clean, climate-controlled area with plenty of lighting. Imagine this, fire department. Currently, the fire department has a staging area for training at the 15th Street warehouse. No seating or access to monitors or screens for instructional training. Again, it's shared storage area with multiple departments in and out. The fire department on Buck Street has no room for any storage at the time, inside and outside, that is. The department is very clean and organized, but there's no space at all. Designating a pole barn to fire would give them 2,000 square feet with what they need. Training would not be interrupted from other departments running in and out. Space would be available to move material out of the fire hall. They could determine access, meaning different garage doors to whatever their liking is. And some material or equipment can be stored outside of the new building to give more space in their parking lot. For construction and city records, as stated, records or files are stored in a large warehouse in an open area exposed to dust, engine fumes, dirt, birds nesting, and most likely bugs and possibly rodents. Lighting is very high on the ceilings, which creates shadows and poor visibility when you're looking for small print on files or boxes. With the customization and designated building for these departments, they can have clean, climate-controlled areas with plenty of lighting. Low ceilings, again, for better efficiency. Only a small garage door would be needed for a forklift. Rows of shelving can be added. As I stated, this is just a suggestion I have with the facts that I've received, but more available temporary space needs to be found. We are pending a list of properties city-owned for evaluation to use for temporary storage and permanent storage. The county can be called to see if they have any temporary space available. Departments using the 15th Street warehouse are sorting through and cleaning out material now, so hopefully that temporary storage that we need is depleting. Space to use at the sewer utility, if we do proceed, was offered. But it does have to be vacated before freezing conditions, as their vehicles have water tanks on them. No pole building or structures were found in the state contractor co-op. New pole buildings would need to go out for bid. Bid specs should be based on the needs of each department, and each department should have their own say. Other than temporary storage, we should not proceed until the closing of the 15th Street warehouse is complete, obviously. Further in closing, simply don't interfere with ratables we're already being received. Sales of any other property is not guaranteed. Don't spend $1.5 or $1.6 million to store mowing equipment, weed whackers, leaf blowers, and a holiday decor. Parks alone needs 26,000 square feet with an office, break room, and locker room. Overall, you can't fit 43,200 square feet of material in a space that's 10,000 square feet or 16,200 square feet. Give our departments and residents something to be proud of. Give our departments brand new and fully functional buildings that fit their needs that are going to last them for the rest of their careers. Again, this doesn't work with only looking at quick fixes or easy outs. This decision we make for 15th Street warehouse relocation affects most of our departments. Most residents will forget how we proceed, but many city employees will remember this decision for the rest of their careers. We're supposed to be leaders of our community, but also leaders of our departments. We sit in these chairs for 4 years or less, and we make decisions for city personnel that could be here for upwards of 30 years. When we are gone, our city departments will be living with our decisions. With our type of government, I can't make decisions for your departments. Again, my recommendation to you all is find temporary storage so we can build new pole buildings for our departments on city-owned property. My name's Steve Watson. I'm the Director of Public Works, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer to the best of my capabilities.
I have one, if you don't mind, Mr. Steve.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Commissioner Watson.
So the Parks Department with all their space, isn't that because they park all their trucks in the warehouse?
They do park their trucks in the warehouse currently.
Yeah, that takes up most of their space.
Correct.
When I measured it.
Yep.
So, just wanted to point that out. Also,
And that would
And-
also help out with the temporary storage space, the space that we're talking about. Those trucks can sit outside. They have older pieces of equipment that can sit outside temporarily. But obviously, moving forward with purchase of new trucks, trailers, or any other equipment, it's best to keep inside so it lasts
I
longer.
mean, I know our whole police fleet is outside. The other thing I'll say is, as far as efficiency goes.
But
it
how
seems-
often do we replace a police
Well,
car?
it seems, more because they wreck them than because they wear out.
Right, but we don't need to have them for
As
long
far,
term.
as far as efficiency, I will say this, it's cheaper to stack stuff up than it is to spread it out with low ceilings. If you have a ceiling that's 20 feet high, you can stack 3 pallets in it or 4 pallets in it, and you need a lot less area, and it's a lot cheaper to build that way.
Correct.
No matter which way we go.
You're right, but for low ceiling areas, it's better for records. You're not going to have a person that's
Well,
10
you're
feet.
not out there reading all the time, you're going through one, you're finding a box with a date on it, and then you take the box down. That's how that kind of works.
Again, it's
But anyway,
easy.
so. that's
Again, it's
just
for
more to
easier for
discuss.
personnel about 5 to 6 foot that can reach an area. You don't need 12 foot of storage space up in the air to have our employees go up and down and trying to find files.
I look at it this way, right? If I have 4 pallets, let's say, and they're 4x8 or 4x5, so that's 20 square feet, right? So I can either stack up if I have 80 square feet of pallets, then how many rows am I gonna have rather than I stack them up? How much more building do I need?
Right.
How much more land I have to cover?
The low ceiling referred to record storage space.
No, I'm talking about records. They're on pallets now, a lot of them. But, thank you.
Sounds good. Any more questions?
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you for the presentation.
You're very welcome.
If I can, I'll throw one more kink into the plan, which could be a possibility. I got a phone call today. It seems like the Frederick Dimmock building is for sale out in the city line. I don't know, but I'm going to be looking at the possibility tomorrow.
Good.
Because I don't know the exact square footage, but I've been in the building many times, and that may solve our whole entire problem.
Very well could.
Thank you for the knowledge. Commissioner Renaud, any of the work session?
What?
Do you have any closing comments?
No.
Of the work session? Any further comments to be made?
No, I just thank Mr.
Commissioner Watson, anything else for the work session?
No, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. That was very well in depth of the many avenues that we have to pursue. Vice Mayor Sui?
Nope.
Neither do I. Public comment portion of this agenda. If you'd like to state of this, please limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes or less. State your name and address.
Good evening, Patricia Kears, 409 Peach Drive. I would like to thank you, Mr. Watson, for your diligence. I think your ideas are really spot on. I hate to see us go into an older building. You're talking $1.5 million, $80,000 for a roof to just be repaired, and then you're looking at another $1 million for the roof. And it's obvious that the garage doors aren't sufficient. The storage is going to be an issue with the climate control. And my other question is, or my other comment is, it's next to the river. Is that in the dam flood zone? And if it is, what's it going to do to the insurance rates on top of everything else? It's going to be a pretty big tax rateable loss. The building is assessed, I believe, at $100,000, and they want 1.5. That's like the building at 10 Buck Street was assessed at over $700,000, and we sold it for $150,000. So it just seems way off kilter to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angeline Broomhall, Millville. I also wanted to discuss the Columbia Avenue building. One, I'm very concerned. That seems very backwards, and it seems like a habit of putting the cart before the horse. Let's rush. We're going to just get everything in plan, and then at the last minute, we're going to force our commissioners, force them to make a decision, and you have to do it now. This is a huge decision, and a 15-minute phone call and some Google searches is not enough to make a decision, in my personal opinion, for millions of dollars of taxpayer investment. I did some research on the building too. The building was purchased for what, $285, I believe, from what I could find. It is assessed at $202,000. Even if you triple the assessed value and what we're collecting as far as tax revenue, you're talking about $600,000. Why are we spending 1.5 on a property that's, our assessor says is only worth $200,000? That makes zero sense and makes no responsibility to the ratepayers of this community. We took a $1 million bond to buy this building. We were prepared to spend the money, and we had no idea where we're going. We might not even be the best idea. Really, is this truly the best idea to sell 15th Street? You know, I heard an old commissioner way back in the day call 15th Street the Taj Mahal. And so, you know, big deal about how we invested all of this money, And now we're gonna take it away and buy a property next to the river where there is a threat of flood. There have been over 3 dozen calls for police service alone to that property in 5 years. It is not a safe place, and that place is covered in security. And over 3 dozen, just police calls. It's not a safe property where we should be putting anything of value or police records or anything like that. The fact that it needs upgrades adds even more of the requirement for the investment of ratepayers. Is it the long-term Taj Mahal that we want? We've already spent on the Taj Mahal, right? We bought the Taj Mahal. And I understand and I can respect wanting to sell properties and wanting to take opportunities for economic development. But we should not, in my personal opinion, cut our nose off to spite our face, be forced into a decision because we have to do it now. If we don't do it now, and you're being asked to make a decision on a 15-minute phone call and a couple of Google searches that has been in the works for a few years. This has been in the works for a few years, and something is being shoved down your throat that will affect generations to come, and I beg you and implore you to look. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not suggesting that I do. I don't know the answer, but I know that an instant answer for a long-term, something that's going to affect us long-term, the community long-term, is never a good idea. It never is. So that's all I wanted to say. And I wanted to congratulate Commissioner Ranello on her seat. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Burrell. This is why it's a discussion, and we're not making any voting decisions tonight on anything concrete. Watson did provide a very well in-depth plan of his ideas, and hopefully we can, as a collective governing body, we can all work on an agreement to make a decision in the near future, because it is prudent of that. But this is why we have, as it was said, discussion of commissioners and a discussion item. So we discussed it, I think, and we have been this is the second meeting in a row, correct? We did this in May. Yeah, we're in June 5th today, so. This is why we're here. We're here to make the hard decisions and hopefully the best decision for our community here in the city of Millville. Anything further from
Sure.
I'll close the public comment portion of the agenda.
Nice.
Closing comment of commissioners, please.
Just a couple. As far as this being shoved down the commission's throat, this has been discussed in redevelopment meetings for over 2 years. Additionally, my fellow commissioners offered to look into alternatives to 15th Street. You talk about the Taj Mahal, that Taj Mahal that they built leaked a week after we took it. It's about jobs, and you're trading one rateable for another rateable. Keep that in mind. So you're not getting any ratables from 15th Street now, but you will. So that'll be an offset there. I think we need a combination of a pole barn or 2 pole barns, as well as another building to move into. I don't think we need to be storing our trucks inside. We don't store any other trucks inside except for park, so that space, and I'm sure we're gonna have more discussions, but this is not a decision that was not considered. I considered it a long time ago. These folks certainly, except for Commissioner Ranello, all have had the opportunity to go to redevelopment meetings and find out what's going on. They've all had the opportunity to talk to our former redevelopment director, Mr. Caperi, who's administrator. Every day he was here. So this is not a decision it's a decision that has to be made fast now, but it's not one that had to be made fast. So I will just explain that to you. Time was wasted, I guess is what I'm saying.
From all of us.
Well, not for me, because I already had a plan, but you guys want to go down a different route, and that's understandable, and I don't blame you for that. But
So you had a plan on purchasing this building for a
but
couple
it's
years.
it's why you need to go to the redevelopment meetings. I know some of you have jobs and you can't make it, but you need to go to these meetings. You need to go, you need to find out what's going on, what's coming down the road. You can't state everything in a redevelopment meeting publicly, because a lot of it has to do with negotiations. That's why you need to attend. I can't talk about it to more than one of you because of the sunshine law. So when you attend, it's great. When you don't, there's consequences. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?